What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hadfield. Joining me this week is Tina Amin.
Hello.
Justin Davis.
Scoop.
And Sam Claiborne.
Hi, Damon. Hi, everybody.
Hello there. We've got a great show for you this week. We're going to talk a little bit about the different approaches Sony and Microsoft are taking to revealing aspects of their next-gen console. We're going to hear an absolutely insane story from one of our listeners that was on vacation when the whole pandemic started. It's a very, very cool story. No, it's actually a really interesting story. But first, let's talk about what we've been playing, because I have a feeling people are still playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we actually have a couple email questions from our listeners about that. Cool. Is that true? Is everyone still playing Final Fantasy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like crazy.
Gonna be for a while.
I can only play.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I can only play like 60 or 90 minutes a night, so I made it to. I just got to Wall Market last night, and it was like 12:15. I'm like, I don't. I need to go to bed, so I saved a really, really cool, good part of the game for tonight.
Nice.
I'm in the tunnel on the way there, with all the hands.
Yeah, I just did the hand stuff last night, which is horrible. It's stupid.
What chapter is that? Do you know?
9.
Okay.
I'm in 11, so I'm just after the whole Wall Market series in a spooky chapter.
I actually have played very little because I have been watching season 5 of Better Call Saul with my nights instead, which is great. But I want to hear from you guys. Still enjoying it? Everyone's still super into it?
It's very good. It's very good. For me personally, it's not a Game of the Year candidate. Although I do think I actually really, really agree with our 8 out of 10 score, which is like it's a great game, but it's like the side quests are all like pretty stupid, and there's like the filler stuff is like clearly filler. And filler can be fine, but the filler in Final Fantasy VII just adds nothing at all. It just adds runtime, like all the stuff in the run up to Sector 5, where there's these like sort of pseudo dungeons you're running through, and I'm like, I don't know. I think the combat system's excellent. I think the voice acting is, some of the best I've heard in a video game. Like, I'm really, really enjoying it. It's great. I don't think it quite reaches that like top tier, in my opinion.
So I'm at this point now where the boss fights are actually getting really tricky, where I have to genuinely think about my materia, what I have equipped for everybody in my party, and then my strategy. And I've started to get to the point where I'm actually looking up guides to see what people are saying, like what you should come in equipped with, and what some of the boss behaviors are. Because man, like flipping between certain phases can get really tricky to balance those things. So I'm in the like full on Final Fantasy strategizing mode, where normally, you'd be focused on doing that in battle because you can mostly take your time with the turn-based functionality, but here you only have so much. So it's officially tricky for me. And it's good, but actually this is normally the phase in an RPG where I would be going and doing all of that filler stuff to like theoretically level up, but it doesn't feel quite the same kind of progression system in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I'm just going through with it and figuring it out.
Sam, what do you think? Is there too much filler in Final Fantasy VII Remake?
It's funny, as I said before, the whole game's filler. Like there's like 3 hours of game that's been turned into 30. So they're filling 30 hours, and some of it's good and some of it's just fine. But it's definitely as just kind of a giant big game I want to go back and play a lot right now. That's what I need. That's what I want. And it's like the only thing that's done that this year for me. And it's absolutely the game I want to play most this year. It's my favorite game so far.
Like I said, we got several emails from listeners about Final Fantasy VII Remake this week. This is August in Utah. So this is a question for Sam and anyone else to whom this may apply. I've recently been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm loving knowing that this game doesn't contain the full story. I'm tempted to buy the original Final Fantasy VII. Problem is, I'm not really into turn-based JRPGs. Is it worth playing the original at this point, or should I just wait who knows how long until the remake part 2?
I mean, there's not even the same story. It's not even close. It's like the names of people and locations are the same, and like maybe that there's like this light eco-terrorism plot, but like nothing in this game. There's like Jessie's not even in the other game, or if she is, she's like maybe like one line of dialogue or something. Biggs and Wedge, they're not even like they're like a joke names that are barely in the game because they're a reference to Star Wars. Like they're not characters. So it's like this game is not that game. If you're going to play going forward, it's just a bunch of stuff about Sephiroth and Cloud. And like, if you're tempted to see that, that's fine. You're going to be reading it. It's very silly, but at least you can fast forward that entire game now and like let it play itself. So if you really just want to see the story, like the old stuff that kind of bothers people about that game is like very like skippable and stuff like that now. Not that I'm saying that you should do that or that I encourage it. I'm just saying you can't.
It's interesting, you know, some of the stuff really is like directly ported 1-to-1. Like anything in the remake that you're like, this feels weird is probably from Final Fantasy VII. Like the little, there's like it's literally like 30 seconds long, a little stealth segment where you have to sneak out of Aerith's house. And like, if you bump into any garbage or anything, she comes out of her room. She's like, where are you going? And it's like, that's in the original game. Like there's all these cute little moments that like clearly the people, you know, making the remake had so much reverence and care and attention to detail in the original. The game's full of beats. Like even some of the areas that were pre-rendered backgrounds in Final Fantasy VII are now fully realized 3D areas, but like you can walk around a pipe and like find a chest in the same spot that it was in the original game. But then it's all just kind of, you know, blown up and expanded 10x. August, I would recommend skipping Final Fantasy VII. Like you're not getting the complete story, but you are getting a complete story. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was reading the comments on our article about the 18 games that seemingly have vanished basically into development hell. And a lot of people were saying Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I thought was interesting. I'm obviously not familiar with the original game, but a lot of people were saying like this wasn't the game that we were expecting or that we were promised. So it seems like just this whole new chapter just with these like reverential kind of Easter eggs, as far as they've been saying.
Yeah. There's definitely an anti-Final Fantasy VII Remake contingency out there now that doesn't like the liberties that they took with the story, I guess.
It is, I don't know. I consider it to be more faithful than Sam. You know, Jesse, like it really follows beat for beat, but then just they inserted new stuff in the middle of it. Yeah.
I'm saying the beats are like 5% of the full game. Like it's like there's no way. There's so much dialogue in this game. There's so many instances that like the beats are like I wouldn't even notice there a beat in the previous game. It's like I'm just walking between a boss fight and a boss fight, and in this game it's like that's a chapter. It's crazy. I can't believe how much they put into it. I'm surprised there's a backlash because at the very least they're like exploding the characters and making them real people instead of like what they were in that game, which is like, over many hours of playing it, you can delve into a backstory for them and stuff. But by the time you understand who Tifa or Aerith even are, you have like 20, other characters that have been introduced. And like in your party, you have 5 or 6 by that point in the normal game. So it just feels so different. I like having so much time with each.
Does the voice of Wedge sound familiar to anyone?
Yeah, it's Badger.
Yeah, Badger from Breaking Bad. That's really good.
Yeah, I think it's very funny.
And is it a known thing that Biggs is modeled after Charlie Sheen from Hot Shots?
No, I brought that up. I thought that I noticed that. I was like, oh, he looks like the guy that looks like Charlie Sheen and the guy that sounds like Badger. Yeah. That's how I've been described.
I mean, Hot Shots is like an early 90s movie, and Final Fantasy VII was, 1997? So
he has that bandana.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it has that red bandana.
Okay.
And there's, of course, a long history of Japanese games just straight up copying characters from action movies.
It's usually Rambo or the Terminator.
Yep, it is. Usually those two.
Or both.
Or Kyle Reese from Terminator. This is Brant, another email. Brant says, love what you guys do. You're all very funny and personable, and you all knock my gaming socks off. I'm a first-time questioner, but here goes. I was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, really enjoying it when it hit me. I almost never use any of the disposable items in video games, with maybe the exception of healing items. For example, in FF7 Remake, I have never used anything but potions and Phoenix Downs. No buffs, debuffs, or damage items. I realized I've done this with Dark Souls and many other RPGs. It's not exactly that I don't want to use them, but I'm scared I'll need them later for something. I am an item hoarder. Got me wondering, do you all use varied amounts of disposable items in RPGs, or do you rarely use them as well? What's your disposable item strategy?
I am 1,000% on the same page as that. Like I always feel like do I want to sacrifice these 3 grenades I have? I only have 3 grenades, and I'm a little bit crazy because I make sure I have a certain level of potions, high potions, mega potions, Phoenix down. And then after every battle, I go back to like, I need to have 20 in my inventory before every single battle. So even if I know that I'm going through these battles and I'm not using all 20, I need to make sure I have it just in case. It's like a fail-safe mechanism, like a security blanket, blanket of potions.
My whole arc of gameplay is figuring out how I can just cast spells and then replenish my MP without ever using an item. So like, using a cure item is so much worse than using a spell, but then I got to figure out the MP. So then I figure out all these ways to save MP. That's all I do in a game like this. And I actually just replayed an entire boss fight because I used 2 max potions and I felt terrible afterwards. Like I played for like 30 minutes afterwards and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. And I went back and replayed the boss fight without using.
I've definitely done that where I haven't like finished the boss battle, but I feel like I expended way too much too early in it. So I'm like, no, that wasn't flawless enough.
That wasn't the real one.
Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't the one. The fates intervened, and you tried the fight again. My default state is the same as you two. Like I'm an item hoarder. I don't like spending that stuff. But what sort of got me out of that habit or turned me around was I don't beat most video games anymore anyway. Like I put them down and move on to another game. And so in my mind, I'm like, look, if I'm not even going to see this thing all the way through, like let's just blow all the items. Let's just use them. I don't even know if I'm going to be playing this game tomorrow or next week. So like I managed to break that habit and live in the moment now and just sort of maximize my fun in that gameplay session. And I'll worry about tomorrow later.
I hear people make that argument for like cell phone covers. Like, I want to enjoy the design of the cell phone.
I do not use a cell phone cover.
There you go.
It goes out of my hand so quickly if I don't use a cell phone cover. And I would like to have like just the glass and steel or whatever case. Like I think that's a great idea. But man, it's just on the ground immediately. Like immediately. Like if I take off my case to clean it, which is a good in your cases, it's on the ground. Like usually
the second it's vulnerable, it's just out of your hands.
Exactly. I was gonna say the ultimate item management game, like item management, the game is Resident Evil. And Resident Evil 2 and 3 recently, and 4 especially, that game is all about like, redo this area to use less ammo. If you can use 7 handgun shots instead of 12, do.
And there's like, you have to use healing items in Resident Evil. There's no spell, no replenishable healing source. So man.
The only spell is to get good.
Well, that's a very like survival horror thing in general, like resource management, inventory management. Now that's a whole other view. Yeah.
So in games like
menus, man, I love them.
So in games like Final Fantasy with potions, there should be a new like measurement for like when you beat the game, like how fast did you beat it, and how many potions do you have on hand at the end of the game?
Or they should say. Or like, what if they said like you're 40% through this game? Like it's fine. Like you could have used 9 ethers by this point. Like it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Just messages of encouragement. Like we give you grenades for a reason. Use them.
Why don't they just let me take my 10 potions and make them into a max potion? Have you guys tried to heal in the environment? Have you like stopped and tried to heal with potions just because you have extra? Because I had like 55 potions and I just sat and you have to like choose these menus to heal yourself. And it's like, you get this little pattern going. It's like a cheat code. It's like up, A, up, A, up, A, up, A. Just do it over and over again.
Well, I do that, but just with my cure spell because I feel like it's easier to replenish your MP in an automatic way than actually expending potions that don't replenish without you buying.
I had to figure out. I have an embarrassing. I'm like 10 hours into the game, and I couldn't figure out how to cast the stronger healing magic or stronger attack magic. And the answer is, you hit right on the D-pad, like, and then it toggles over to the next stronger one. But this is when I figured out that my D-pad is broken.
Whoa.
And I'm like, it's not. And I'm like, maybe it's the right trigger. Maybe it's like the right. And I tried like every single button on my controller and it didn't work. And then I've been playing the game with a busted PlayStation controller for 10 hours. So I guess the story has a happy ending, but it was just a weird moment I had last night.
So what do you finally have busted controller?
Well, I switched. I have a second one.
Okay.
And then it worked. I'm like, oh yeah, this works fine.
I had a PlayStation controller just completely die on me. It's just dead now. It won't charge. My Joy-Cons just started drifting this week. And they do it in Animal Crossing where you have to like I know it's not a huge gameplay game, but there is a moment in that game where you have to aim to fish or to hit something with your shovel, and it is important in the game. And it sucks so bad. It sucks.
Yep. My Joy-Con just started drifting too, just last week, and it happened. It was like a tiny drift, and then it became a bad drift right away, like really quickly. And now I'm missing my rocks all the time, Damon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm casting my fishing line in the wrong spot.
Wow. If people don't know what that is, it just means that your character or your motion keeps on going past where you want it to. It just keeps on going. Or when you're not touching anything, it'll like actually go and no fun.
Do you have replacement Joy-Cons?
No. Although I'm sitting in front of a box right now that has 4 Wii remotes in box. I just noticed.
So, that's useful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a Super Mario Brothers 3 strategy guide.
I've been randomly thinking about getting one of those customized Atomic Purple Joy-Cons because I love Atomic Purple anything in general. So good excuse. Yeah. I'm sort of waiting for my Joy-Cons to crap out because my nephew keeps trying to play Aladdin now. That's his little latest game. But once they do, I'm going to get on that Atomic Purple Joy-Con.
That's a good idea. Those are custom though, so you have to buy the shells and then somebody has to put them together.
Yeah, like I think people on Etsy sell those kinds of things. So
they put them pre-assembled?
I think so. I think some people are selling them.
All right. Well, if you get the kit, we can make it a craft project at IGN when we're all back.
There you go.
All right, I have something to show you guys. This is something I'm going to be spending some time with over the next few days. Can you see this?
Ooh.
Yeah. Evercade?
This is called the Evercade. It's a new portable retro system that uses cartridges. I'll show you. It comes with like cartridge packs of games. Like this is the Namco Museum pack. That includes Galaxian, Pac-Man, Xevious, Mappy, Dig Dug, Star Luster, something I've never heard of, Battle Cars, Metal Marine, Libble Rabble, Quad Challenge, and Mappy Kids. Did you know there's a Mappy Kids?
I didn't know about Mappy Kids. Well, Mappy Adult is pretty scandalous, so they needed to do that.
It's true. Yeah, I'm thinking about reviewing this for IGN. This is
Did it come with the other carts, or did it just come with that cart?
It comes they call it the premium pack. Comes with 3 cartridge pack, and then they sent me more. So it's like this is what it looks like.
Cute.
Oh,
I was
kind of
just
like Famicom colored.
And these are the cartridges. This is the Interplay collection. And the Atari collection that it comes with some weird stuff, like an Atari 7800 game from 1990 called Alien Brigade. That's a on-rails shooter like Operation.
Cool. I was just talking to Seth Macy about this exact machine, and we couldn't figure out. The carts are weird because it's not like there's hundreds and hundreds of carts. There's like 12, but then each cart has like 15 games on it. We're like, why? Why is it set up this way? It's not like they're limited on space, but they're by manufacturer, right? So like a Namco cart and an Atari cart, like then other classic companies.
This is Technos, so you get Double Dragon, 1, 2, River City Ransom, Dodgeball, Renegade, Crashing the Boys. It is manufactured in the UK, so there's like Spectrum stuff and like
lots of typos.
Yes, typos. I'm talking about like computer games that we are not going to be very familiar with. But like Interplay Collection 2, Earthworm Jim 2, Claymates, Clay Fighter 2, Rad Gravity. Anyway.
Hey, did you get it all in one bundle?
Yeah, they sent me the premium pack and then they sent me all the extra cartridge packs too.
And they're kind of like Genesis cartridges? Like the cases?
They're like this.
Not the cartridge itself, but the case is like a plastic case?
Yes.
Cool.
They come in a plastic case. So it's cool. It's it's an interesting way of approaching retro gaming, actually, that's still using hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Can you hook it up to your telly?
You can. It comes with an HDMI cable.
Neato.
All right. Tell me if you can hear this after I refresh the page. Nope.
Da.
You hear that?
Well, you can't.
No? Not getting anything?
Well,
could you guys not hear anything?
Try it again, but don't talk.
Yeah, and I ruined it too. If you don't talk and none of us talk, I think we're going to hear it fine.
Yeah, we interrupt it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's super R-Type.
Cool.
We did it.
Okay, let's. Did you actually hear it though?
Yeah.
We heard half of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I heard a beat
people
and some synth.
some people were saying they miss the sound effects and music cues, so I was trying to incorporate that, but still can't figure out a way to have it sound good. Anyway, let's talk about this article that went up today on IGN that Tina mentioned. 18 games that seemingly vanished, and there are some infamous missing games on here, and then some things that I wasn't even aware of were a thing. Some interesting stuff. One of them is In the Valley of Gods. That one is from Camposanto. And they're the Firewatch team. Is that right?
Yeah. They got bought by Valve.
Yeah. So they just had to make HalfLife Alex instead, I guess.
Well, I mean, I think they
did,
like,
and they talked about it publicly.
Yeah.
They're like,
that's
first
exactly-
they're like, we can do this, and then we're going to keep on making this game, and then they're like, no.
it's officially put on hold now. They announced, which is a bummer. That game looked great, but if that writing staff is contributing to other big Valve projects, like fair enough, I guess.
Yeah.
I hope they all sat around and had a big, pizza order, and they said, okay, we're going to take who wants to keep working on this game and who wants to work on Half-Life. And I hope it is unanimous that they wanted to work on Half-Life and that their pizza was really good. That's what my hope is.
I'm real sure they were given a decision in that matter.
That's how decisions are made, right?
But that's how Valve works, right? Like people can kind of work on what they want there, supposedly.
Actually, that's true. Yeah, supposedly people sort of like invent their own job titles and have the freedom to walk into a project and just announce that they're working on it at that point. So maybe the pizza story is right.
Remember all those years ago when the Valve employee handbook apparently, and they just talked about how everything is flat. People just make up their own job titles and work on whatever they want to work on.
Yep, their desks are on wheels. They can just wheel themselves around.
Okay, Witchfire. Does anyone remember a game called Witchfire?
Only from reading this article today.
2 years, 4 months, and 14 days ago.
It's a witchy shooter.
It's from the developer of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. This one I was not aware of. Apparently, it's still in development, and they say an April blog post from last year says it'll be done when it's. So we'll see. What about Metroid Prime 4? That one we know was sort of restarted, right?
Yep.
Yeah, at least they told us it was going to be MIA for a little while by saying they're restarting development from scratch. Man.
I think we've still only seen a logo from that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they restarted that. They had to start from scratch with the logo too.
From Ubisoft, there is a couple from Ubisoft. Skull and Bones, the pirate game that was announced 3 E3s ago. That has just sort of disappeared from Ubisoft's release radar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that game ever going to come out?
Yeah, it will, in my opinion. I think I've joked about this before, but you can chart my arc of announcement of that game. Like, there's a 60-second journey I went on where I'm like, oh my god, they're finally doing it. They're making a pirate adventure game and an Assassin's Creed spinoff. And then it was I don't know that it's only multiplayer, but it's more of like a Division like experience where it's really multiplayer focused, and then my interest plummeted through the floor.
Yeah.
I think Sea of Thieves ate its lunch, man. I don't see how there's room for it. If Sea of Thieves is doing good now, people like how are you going to draw a multiplayer pirate community away from one that's already established?
I feel like for at least a few of these, there's a level of like, we've delayed enough. Like, should we just wait and start to amp up production for a next gen title instead, and then sort of do the reboot on audiences at that point?
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's Payday 3, game that was announced almost 4 years ago. Payday is the first-person shooters where you're bank robbers, right? Am I describing that accurately? But the developer Starbreeze has had a lot of money issues, and I think they were in a reconstruction process last year. I don't know what the current status of Payday 3 is. The Talos Principle 2.
Payday 2 is still like a top 50 Steam game most days.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Yeah.
Because it's good?
It's real fun.
It's got a loyal audience. That would make me say, like, why even bother doing a Payday 3, which is a consideration. But yeah, the fact that their company is having it, I didn't even know about that. So
that's the like Destiny 1, Destiny 2 argument. Like, just keep supporting the original game. But then, if they want to do some sort of new vision for it, then they want to like kind of reboot and have the community be able to follow along, but there's no real progression. So
Worked for Destiny, did not for Division 2,
Maybe.
It's hard to say.
Two Worlds 3? Really?
You skipped Talos Principle.
Oh, sorry.
He said it and then went
Yeah,
over.
I just first of all, I was so excited because I didn't know a Talos Principle 2 was announced. I just completely
You just learned this.
missed it whatever year. No,
Was
Talos,
that like a roller coaster for you? It's announced though. I haven't heard from it in 3
yeah,
years.
and now it's maybe canceled. We don't know. Yeah, Talos Principle is really underrated. It's a first-person puzzle game that's not as good as Portal 1 and 2, but it's in that same vein. First-person puzzle game with a really interesting sort of mind-bending, not like twisty twist, but like it goes in an unexpected direction. And I think that game's really underrated and really good. And I hope they finish up that sequel and it comes out someday.
Well, apparently that team is currently working on Serious Sam 4. And that's their priority, which just seems not the same sort of game as a first-person puzzle game like Talos Principle. All right, Two Worlds 3. I did not know they were trying to make a third Two Worlds.
Well, did you know they were making a 3 Worlds 2?
That's not what? And I guess in early 2019, there's Topware, the developer, is still saying that Two Worlds 3 is still in development, still coming with a release window 2022.
Two Worlds is horrible, like just a truly awful game.
And they made a sequel.
But Two Worlds 2 is bad to mediocre. Okay. And so the arc of like from horrible to like mediocre, it's like they're on a path to like by the time they reach the fourth one, it's going to be game of the year.
Okay, good. In 2030.
Yeah.
Maybe they're skipping the third one.
Let's mark the date Justin Davis predicts, and then we'll revisit.
Yeah,
it's like it's the arc of the Witcher games, although they never started off bad.
It has been 4 years, 4 months, and 8 days since System Shock 3 was announced.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Apparently, well,
what's the update?
It says still in development.
Okay.
Well, they like fired the entire team or whatever. The entire team that was originally working on it is no longer there and working on it. So that's you'll hear a lot of those stories in association with a lot of these, where like teams get rebooted or they hand it off to another developer entirely, that kind of thing. So it becomes really disruptive, I imagine. And then there's different visions between the teams, that kind of thing.
It's just a game name now.
It's just an IP.
Just an IP.
This one I hadn't heard of. Red Ash, the Indelible Legend from Keiji Inafune.
I didn't hear that either. And of course, I love Mega Man and Inafune. Yeah. He did that weird Recore game. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
he did Recore.
And of course, Mighty Number 9. But and neither were received well. But I didn't even hear about this one, and it even described it as a Mega Man-esque.
Yeah, a spiritual successor.
Yeah,
as they say.
Mm-hmm.
The website is still live, but I wouldn't expect that one to come.
Is that the one that raised like $800,000 too?
They tried to, but it failed. It was a failed Kickstarter.
Oh, it didn't reach the mark that they needed.
Yeah, it fell well short.
It's one of those classic Kickstarter scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Wayward Tide was announced by Stardew Valley's publisher 5 years, 7 months, and 14 days ago.
Mm-hmm. But he has this other game that he's doing.
Well, but
it's the publisher.
It's just the publisher, not the actual developer. I think development on Wayward Tide has been halted. We say it's in development hell. And this one really upsets me. Wild, the game Wild. This game looks so cool. From Ubisoft, I think we've gotten 2 trailers, but it's been a couple of years at least, maybe 3 years since the last trailer dropped. It's been 5 years, 8 months, and 10 days since Wild was announced.
There were rumors about Wild this week, weren't there? Now I don't remember the provenance of them or where I read them. I think I heard some rumors around maybe it was going to be revealed as a PS5 title. But I may have dreamed that.
Well, there were some job listings posted for the game specifically, so I think people are like projecting and assuming that has something to do with it. So at least there's some level of development still happening.
Dead Island 2. Oh, go ahead.
Damon, hold on. It just occurred to me we should probably check in on KJ Inafune. Where is this guy? Let's make sure he's okay. Let's check in.
He put out Mighty Number 9, and it was it wasn't great. It wasn't well received.
Yeah. Yeah, that's worrying. It's been a while.
He couldn't pull a Bloodstained.
No.
On that. Dead Island 2 was announced 5 years, 10 months, 12 days ago. Yeah, I guess that one is still in development.
There was news about that, right, Tina?
I don't remember. You tell me.
It's been switched developers multiple times.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was. Okay. Oh man, that's crazy. I mean, what's the point at that point?
I know.
I guess it is like Tina was saying. It's the IP, right?
Yeah. Deep Down is the Capcom. I don't know if it was ever actually a game, but it looks like a dungeon crawler. It was shown at the reveal of the PlayStation 4 event 7 years, 2 months, 1 day ago. But that one's just on hold, apparently. I think it was actually shown at TGS in more of a playable state, but I don't know that Deep Down was ever actually planned to be a game.
Mm-hmm. And
There
now
are
that
none
team
of
is dissolved.
Yeah, they're another one of those where the original team isn't working on it, so bit of a restart there.
I feel like Justin might know something about Star Citizen.
Why?
Seems like a Justin game, like a Justy game.
Yeah. That's very true. What that game didn't disappear though. Like it's still.
It's just in like permanent alpha, right?
It's controversial because they keep collecting more and more and more money from their fans and backers. Like you're buying these digital spaceships or the promise of future digital spaceships that cost hundreds of dollars, and like some detractors consider it a scam. Like they've raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and have never delivered a video game. But I have a little bit more balanced take, which is they're really, really transparent about their development processes and their roadmap, and why things are taking more time than they think they do, and why things are turning out more ambitious than they thought. So is that money being well spent? Is it being mismanaged? Like, is that game ever going to come out? I don't know. But like that company, like you can go to their website and see everything that they're doing and working on and what they spent the last 3 months making. So we'll see. But
yeah,
it is very, very, very ambitious. Maybe too ambitious, but I don't think it's accurate to call it like, well, they're just taking people's money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people in the comments are trying to call it a scam, but that may be a little dramatic. Hellraid is a game from Techland, developer of the first Dead Island, and then they moved on to Dying. Hellraid was announced 7 years, 7 months, and 26 days ago, and in 2015, Techland's CEO said it is definitely not dead, but 5 years later, still not out.
This one's cool because we actually got an updated statement from them as well, effectively saying. Yeah, so we got an original statement for that one. The whole purpose of this post was to try to get updates on some of these games, and a lot of people just kind of no commented. But in this case, they actually reached out and said that it was originally being developed in parallel to Dying Light by a much smaller team, but they had to shift all of their resources over because their expectations for the project were growing. So they shifted the focus, prioritized Dying Light, and then we're working on that. And we're expecting it to be as big of an undertaking, I guess, as it was. So they are, for now, putting it on hold.
Got it. And then actually Dying Light 2 is on hold. Or it's not on hold, but doesn't have any release date currently, I don't believe. Routine, promising PC horror game announced in 2012, but I've never heard of this one.
Yeah, missed that one.
In development hell. And then I don't know if this one counts. Agent is the Rockstar game that was supposed to be a PlayStation 3 exclusive. I don't know. We say it's in development hell. I don't think that game is in any sort of development.
I mean, that one, it's been so long. How many years? 10 years that like clearly that game doesn't exist anymore. But it's Rockstar, and it was announced on stage at a Sony E3 press conference. So it's like that's why it continues popping up in people's minds.
I think the thing that's leading people to think like this game is never going to happen also is they finally abandoned the trademark. They didn't like re-up that I think like 2 years ago or so.
Yeah, 2018 I think.
Yeah.
And finally, the other Ubisoft game is Beyond Good and Evil 2. Which
that's even longer than Agent since announcement.
I mean, apparently it was announced 11 years ago. I know we just got that first trailer in 2015,
but it's a very, very different, like, it's a completely different project now. Like, they had a CG trailer 11 years ago where it looked like it was going to be, just kind of like tradition, like a pretty straight up sequel to the original. But now, Michel Ancel has a very, very different vision for that product.
And they showed like 2 E3s ago, some kind of controller held demo of that game.
Yeah, it looked great.
It's cool. I think it's cool that Ubisoft has like all of these projects that are ongoing or being worked on and that are, kind of announced and in the background. Like that company is working on so many games at once all the time. That's good.
And then inevitably stuff we also don't even know about.
Yeah, absolutely. They're rapidly becoming just a really cool lead Earth game developer.
Yeah. Let's check in with the listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Hey.
Again, listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Victor from Gothenburg, Sweden did. Victor says, thanks for keeping your spirits up and continuing to produce the show. Much appreciated. We're trying.
Yeah, well, we don't have any choice. They make us.
True.
Yeah. There's also all these technical issues happening that you, the viewer and listener, won't ever experience. But sometimes producing.
They're seeing some of it. They're seeing some of it.
Sometimes this can be a struggle. Anyway, Victor says
Rude.
a lot of people seem to think that Sony has dropped the ball on the release of the PlayStation 5 as far as hype. I myself can feel my love for Xbox creeping back in. And since getting an Xbox Sad Edition during Black Friday, I'm starting to look more and more towards the series instead of the PS5. They have Black Friday in Sweden.
Wow, that's really cool.
What do you think of
Sony? It's Gothenburg, but Goth is in the name, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's all
pretty spooky.
coming together.
It's all pretty
What
spooky.
do you think? 31, something spooky. What do you think that Sony should do to get the hype train rolling again? Since the COVID-19 situation is screwing things up worldwide, do you think it would benefit them to delay the release and reassure people that when it drops, it will be with X titles and that their teams will have more time to make those games even?
I think. Oh, sorry, Damon. I think Sony will be fine. I've been critical of the rollout of the PlayStation 5 on Scoop for a few weeks now, but then the little tiny morsels that they do give people, like the controller was the biggest gaming post on Instagram ever of all time. People went completely ape for the logo when they revealed the logo, even though it's just the PlayStation 4 logo with a 5 pasted over it. So it's like, if that console comes out on time, like if they hit their date and like it's out and available this fall, like Sony is going to be completely fine. They only feel behind just because they're not saying anything yet, whereas Xbox is saying a lot.
But that's 1,000% the affordances that they get having the community that they have and having built that goodwill and faithful community through the PS4. They're riding a lot on the PS4. None of that has to necessarily do with the PS5 because we actually don't know a ton about it. Although, lately with a couple that like GDC talk or GDC replacement talk, for instance, with Mark Cerny, certainly dove into a little bit of the more like technical details, but it's easier for them, I would say. So hype wise, no, they're not in it. Like obviously the way that our Instagram post performance and all this other content is doing indicates that they're not at risk of losing any of that hype, but I still would love to, be hearing from those guys more often and get excited about like fundamental things about the PS5, not just like hearsay or logos or whatever else.
I think we put too much stock in the console itself being this interesting thing that can be revealed. There's lots of interesting things about a console, but the games are so much more interesting. And I think the hype that's going to build around this is going to be around the damn games, and they need to start talking about them so we can be hyped.
They've been just because someone's not saying something doesn't mean that thing doesn't exist, right? Like Horizon Zero Dawn has been in development. The Horizon Zero Dawn 2, like that game they've never announced it, but like they've been working on it for years and years and years. Like there is another God of War coming. There is another Spider-Man coming. Like when they reveal like the full force of that console and its lineup, like, they're gonna. I do think that the steps up to now have been a mistake, and they should have been more in lockstep with Sony or with Microsoft rather in sort of dribbling information out to users. But like they'll be able to close that gap very, very quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like GTA 6, like obviously people are going to be excited for GTA 6. You don't have to know anything other than the fact that it's in development to be excited about it, simply from pedigree's sake. But it would be nice to know things to actually be excited about.
Yeah. I do agree with Victor that a lot of, Microsoft has been saying and showing us a lot more than Sony has. And what they've been saying is pretty exciting. Has me thinking about getting back into Xbox next gen. But we know a lot about our audience at IGN, and our overwhelmingly prefers PlayStation over Xbox, and just anything that content performs better. And if you poll the audience, they're much more excited for PS5 than Xbox. So I just like Justin was saying, when Sony is finally ready to really ramp up PlayStation 5 news, I think that's when you'll really see things take off. All right, I told you we had a good story from one of our listeners, and this is pretty crazy. This is James, who lives in Cumbria, England. Says, I really enjoyed listening to your bonus chat last week about missing each other. Justin, you missed this, but I miss you too. And I completely get what you lot were saying. My wife and I have just spent the winter on a kayak expedition in Patagonia. We were kayaking for 89 days and traveled over 2,500 kilometers. On this journey, we were by ourselves. We didn't see anybody else apart from the occasional fishing boat in the distance. Even though I loved this and it was a mind-altering experience, I missed my 3DS and PS4. Just before we rounded the infamous Cape Horn, I received a message on our satellite phone from my dad saying there is a pandemic affecting the world and advised us to come home when possible. With no internet or any other way to get info, we were stressed, but continued our journey around the tip of South America and headed to port. We landed in Porto Williams and changed our flights and arrived home to a different England than when we left. Sadly, I haven't spent any real time with other people who aren't my wife since November. And your comments really registered with me as I really miss all my buddies at work. Luckily, my PlayStation has helped me keep in touch. I am an outdoor educator by trade and have been furloughed for now. Since I've gotten home, I've run and cycled a lot, but also completed the new Star Wars game, Outer Worlds, Uncharted 4, and the Patapon collection. I've just found Sleeping Dogs on the PSN, and wow, what a game, a true Hong Kong crime film, but in video game form. This made me think, what older and cheaper games do the gang recommend that you can easily pick up digitally that may have been hidden gems? First of all, that's such a crazy story to be. Yeah. That would be crazy if there weren't a pandemic, to be on an 89-day kayaking trip.
And miss everything.
But you expect to come home to be able to see your friends and tell your travel stories.
Yeah.
I guess the one silver lining is this thing has been ongoing since November, December, actually. So you managed to avoid all of that.
I also think
that's not the first time I've heard that story. Like there was another podcast I listened to, Stuff You Should Know, and they were talking about a similar story about hiking and missing this entirely. What I would prefer is if when Dad writes me and says that message, to also say it's not like a disease that makes like 90% of the world turn inside out and just bleed. Maybe qualify the pandemic.
Give more details.
That's changing. But I also want to know a little bit more.
That's exactly what I was going to say, where like COVID-19 is super, super serious. Please stay home. It's very scary. But like if you get a message on your satellite phone that says there's a global pandemic, come home right now. It's like
I jumped to zombies or Ebola.
Yeah.
Like people turning inside out.
Yeah, people turning inside out. Lots of blood.
Well, we're glad you are home safe, James. So we just found which one? With Sleeping Dogs. He's looking for other games like that are digitally available. Saints Row the Third is being remastered and coming out in May 22nd. If you like Sleeping Dogs, I think you'll definitely like Saints Row the Third. I was just looking at other sort of. Go ahead.
Oh, he should get into the Yakuza games.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, like they're cheap and inexpensive. They're all super long, super great.
The remakes specifically are supposed to be really good, right?
Kiwami 1 and 2 is good. 0, in my opinion, is the best one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Resident Evil 4 is on Switch. It's great.
As per my usual fashion, to remember any games that I've played, I had to go through my trophies list. So I went through my trophies list on PS4, and I scrolled way down to look for older games that I also assume are cheaper at this point. And one, do you guys remember? Damon won't because he was on paternity leave at the time. But do you guys remember what my 20 questions was when I took over during Gamescom?
Was it from before 2000?
I don't remember at this point. I don't think so. No, it's after. You remember what it was? No? Apparently it was a repeat. The Saboteur.
Yeah. Saboteur is good.
Is that available?
Really like that one.
Can you play that on PS4?
I played it on PS4. I assume unless something happened to its digital edition, I assume it's still available.
I'm confirming.
Please do. But also, you go.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's only $4.99.
There you go.
You nailed it.
Wait, who made Saboteur?
It
Odin?
was
Pandemic Studios.
I just wanted to point that out.
That's not cool.
That was their swan song.
My intention when I'm done with Final Fantasy VII Remake is to play Final Fantasy 13, which I never played when it came out.
Wow.
And that game in particular seems to be having a little bit of a moment right now because Final Fantasy VII Remake is extremely linear, right? Like it's just a straight through adventure. And everyone's savaged 13 for that. Like maybe correctly, like, you're not making a lot of decisions. You're just sort of going down corridors. But like I said this before about 7, but like at certain times in my life, that's kind of just what I want. Like I don't need a big giant world to explore. I just want to go on an adventure from like point A to point B. And so I think that 7 Remake has some people recontextualizing 13, and like that criticism is super valid and legitimate, but like maybe it's still an adventure worth going on and a story worth experiencing. And that game can be played on Xbox through backwards compatibility if you get the last gen version, or it's on PC, it's on Steam.
Yeah.
I think you could aim high and go for all the 10s you might have missed, and The Witness is a good one for that.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
If you do want a Final Fantasy where you can explore a little bit more, this is
10?
my monthly reminder that Final Fantasy X is amazing, and they have the HD remaster available for PC, PS4.
Oh yeah.
Just play the Final Fantasy games. Play 12. 12's really good.
Just play all of them. Just go through all of them.
Yeah, I've still never played 10. I should check that out at some point.
I think you should start at 1 and end at 6.
I think you should start at 10 and end at 10. I have one more recommendation.
Okay, yes. What is it?
Split Second. You guys remember that game?
The racing game?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool. It was like a racing, destruction game, not like Burnout.
Mm-mm.
It was a Disney game. It was a Disney interactive game, I think.
That's right.
I don't know if this is cheap now, but I love Gravity Rush 2. It's so good.
I like that one a lot too.
It's really fun. I just start to finish. It's a really beatable, fun game, and it feels great. And it's a good feeling game these times.
Yeah, that's really.
Yeah, it's got cats in it.
Okay, well, anyway, that brings us to video game 20 questions. Our suggestion this week comes from Clark Petrie. Let the questioning begin.
Could this have appeared in Nintendo Power during the entire run of Nintendo?
Yes.
Cool.
Oh.
They only covered Nintendo games, and it only went to like 2015.
Was this game made by Nintendo?
No.
Did this come out on a cartridge?
Yes.
Did this game come out on a Super Nintendo cartridge?
No.
NES?
No. That's 5.
Wow. So Game Boy Advance or Game Boy or 64. Is this go ahead, Tina.
I was just gonna say, is it a puzzle game?
It is not a puzzle game.
Because if it was Dr. Mario, you'd have to tell us.
Did this game come out on a handheld console? A handheld Nintendo console?
A port of it did, and it's a completely different game.
Oh, okay. So,
but
Nintendo
is that
64 game that was on Game Boy and Game Boy, or something like that?
Okay, so we think it's a Nintendo 64 game as a result of that answer?
Maybe. That's really funny. I bet it's what's the Conker's Bad Fur Day that came out as a Game Boy game that was like totally
Conker's Pocket Tales.
Yeah. Does this game star an animal?
No.
Are humans animals?
The debate.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I can't use that question.
You said no. Okay. Like, is this a Nintendo 64 game?
Yes.
Okay. I know that's burning a question, but it was going to bother me the whole time if I didn't know.
Did you see that there's a backlash against was this well received? People are like, what does that mean?
Of using it?
It got good reviews.
Now I'm second guessing myself, but it's actually really helpful for me because I like to know.
I use it to know. Yeah, I use it to know, like, is this going to be top of mind or is this going to be something I forgot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Is the company that made this game still around?
The developer is not, and that's 10.
I think it's safe to say it's part of a series if it is on multiple.
Yeah. It's so few games got that weird like Game Boy port situation too. Or it could have gone to DS and then had like a Renaissance version. Could this be like a no? It wouldn't be Pod Racer, right?
Could be anything. I mean, it could be a fighting game. Those all got ported to handhelds.
Mhm.
Was this game developed in the United States?
Yes.
Is this based on a license?
No.
I was thinking about that one, but I figured first party maybe narrows it down.
Well, it's not. We know it's not a Nintendo-made game.
Well, that's right. It's not Nintendo.
Yeah, that makes it really, really hard.
Was the home console version of this game exclusive to the Nintendo 64 in the era in which the game initially came out?
Yes.
Cool. So it's a Nintendo 64 game that got a weird spin-off handheld.
Oh wait, hold on. Maybe make sure it's the console exclusive.
Correct. Yeah. So it's not. It's not.
It sounds like it had a PC version too.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, it didn't hit the PS1 basically, so that eliminates all the like. Yeah, it's not Madden.
Mm-hmm. Damon, is this a Damie game?
No, I've never played it.
Could it be a sporty game?
I mean, maybe, but it would have to be exclusive to the N64, but not made by Nintendo. So, like, probably not.
Maybe it's a Mario Party. No, it's not this. Darn it.
And it was made by a
game. Because that would get fighting games in there. Is it multiplayer?
There is a multiplayer mode, and that's 15.
So it's not a fighting game.
It was made by a U.S. company that's not in business anymore. It was exclusive to the N64, but got a weird handheld like version that doesn't count. It's like one of the main versions.
I would have figured Damon has played every single Nintendo 64 game because that was his era, and I saw a picture of him playing Nintendo 64 recently. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, and I was there in that picture, then I would think that it'd be very unusual that he didn't play this game.
You don't play as an animal.
Mm-mm.
Are you driving or piloting a vehicle in this game?
No.
Are you platforming?
No. Not to any significant extent, I don't think.
Okay, so there's minimal jumping on ledges for access to other platforms, I imagine.
We screwed this one up. It could be anything.
It could be any. It could be any game. This is from before 2000, right?
Well, it's an N64 game.
You never asked that question.
We never asked that? Okay.
It could be like, what was that cover shooter, that like military shooter? There was like a Winback on N64. That's such a weird deep cut. And I only remember it because it did a cover shooting system before like God of War or Gears of War, I mean.
Is this, should we ask, did you ask about shooties? Is that what you?
No, we didn't ask any of that. Like, does this game take place on Earth, on like a modern day Earth?
It's supposed to be Earth, and I guess at some points you're in modern day, and some points.
So there's time travel.
Wait,
time?
Can you say that? Can you say that again?
It does. It is supposed to take place on Earth, but you're not always in modern day.
That's such a good hint.
I mean, everything points to Perfect Dark for me, but the company's still around.
Yeah.
Because that had this crappy Game Boy version. It wasn't developed in Japan. It's an exclusive.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think it can be Time Splitters because those were multi-platform, although that's an excellent guess. I don't think it can be Turok because they're exclusively in the past, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Although I think they were N64 exclusive.
What are we missing here, Damon?
Do the Turok games have a modern day?
You should have asked if it's well received.
Why is it well? Is it a stinker?
Yes, it is a stinker. That's it.
Wow.
That you're out of questions now.
Usually those are licensed games.
Yeah.
This is. I'll tell you, it's one of the most infamous stinkers.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, it sounds like it's like a famous stinker, like Superman 64, right?
But I can reveal the answer if
Bubsy 3D.
If you don't have any guesses.
He gave us such a good hint with like the modern day Earth stuff. But I don't think we can capitalize.
Yeah.
It got a 4 from IGN.
Really? That's a great score. I
Quick,
love that. That's so
Google it.
funny.
I
don't know.
Okay, it is Daikatana. John Romero's infamous Daikatana.
That didn't come to other consoles at the time?
PC and Nintendo 64.
Wow.
And there's a Game Boy Color port that's a totally different game.
I want to play that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten that. I only remember that game. I probably haven't heard that name in 20 years.
I never played the game. It's supposed to be really bad though. Do you know that you play a Japanese person? Like every person in the game has a Japanese name, and it's just like the most stereotypical stuff that John Romero just thought of.
No way.
And then you time travel around to different time periods. And did I ever tell this story? I've probably mentioned this before, that I used to spend New Year's Eves with John Romero because he was dating my friend's cousin in Olathe, Kansas. And my friend, his family would have a big New Year's Eve gathering, and John Romero would be there.
Did you talk to him?
Yeah, that's like when I was in high school and when I was starting to go to E3, and I would talk to him about that stuff.
That's insane. How is that never come up? I've known you for like 9 years.
I feel like I've said that before.
Yeah,
on the
I've
show.
never heard that.
It's probably been a long time.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
That's a crazy anecdote, Damon.
Yeah,
if I were you, I'd be trotting that out all the time.
Have you seen him recently?
No. I haven't seen him.
Well, they clearly broke up.
This is when. They did break up. This is when I was in high school.
Well, yeah.
It's a long time ago.
If you saw him recently, would you be like, "Do you remember I met you at that party?"
I high school
1997.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, like, so this is like, this would have been right around the time you would have been working on Daikatana. Maybe a little bit after that. Anyway, that's my story. And that is all the scoops that we have for you this week. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address, gamescoop@ign.com. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Borbo, working behind the scenes. Everybody, stay home, stay safe, and we'll see you next.